The NBA was absolutely terrified that this would happen as we finally got the first real glimpse of the Spurs' true young core in Stephon Castle, who had probably his best game as a rookie, Devin Vassell being back and playing incredible, but not just these two guys putting on an incredible performance. We saw a historic performance by Wemby as he continues to make NBA history with his stat lines. There is a lot to get into in this video, and honestly, it's crazy that the NBA has let the Spurs get away with this as the guys are finally coming together to make a team that looks unbelievably dangerous for the future. We're going to get into all that coming up on this episode of Spurs Digest. But guys, before we get into the video, like we always ask for, subscribe to the channel. 82% of you guys watching this video are not subscribed. That's a lot of you guys watching this who are not subscribed. We're aiming for 3,000 subscribers and beyond, and if you enjoy this daily Spurs content, hit the button down below. I promise you won't regret it. Let's get right into the video, and I want to start talking about Victor Wembanyama. Now, Wemby, we all know he's insane. Right now, he hasn't had the best start to the season. He's had a few, well, even if he has a dud game by some people's standards, he's still incredibly impactful. He's had some pretty bad shooting nights, but the Spurs have said, hey, Victor Wembanyama, we want you to try a different thing now. We want you to start shooting more threes. They've all said, look, it's a process. We're trying to get him to do new things. And even with that, tonight we finally saw, well, I guess last night, as of the recording of this video, in this last game, we finally saw glimpses of what Wembanyama can do if he is executing at the level that the Spurs want him to do. He had 24 points, 16 rebounds, 7 blocks, and 6 three-pointers made, which is a career-high mark for him. He's the first player in NBA history to record multiple games with 20 points, 15 boards, 5 blocks, and 5 threes made. And I just want you to take a second and just process those numbers for a second. 20 and 15 and 5 blocks, lots of centers have done that in NBA history. No one in the history of the sport has done that while also making 5 threes at least 2 times in their career. This is absolutely insane for Wemby, and I'll play these highlights again. And not only that, he was protecting the rim down the stretch. Now, the Spurs did lose this game, but this sequence here was absolutely ridiculous from him, blocking Kyle Filipowski and John Collins, and then spurring the fast break due to his defense where Stephon Castle just capped off his amazing game. We'll get into Castle and a bit of Vassell in a minute, but I just want you to think about this for a second. Now, Wembanyama, we've seen him take a lot more threes this season. We've seen him take a lot more step-back threes, a lot more contested threes. He's clearly not hesitating. I mean, early in this game, Lauri Markkanen came down, hit a three. What, the next possession or a couple possessions later, Wemby comes down, hits one right back. We know he can hit those threes, and reporters were asking him, hey, Victor, do you think, this is maybe more representative? Do you think you finally found your stroke? He's like, look, it's not going to happen overnight. Like, that's not how shooting works. He said, I know I'm better than what the percentages suggest this season, but I know I'm not like a 60% three-point shooter, like a one-game sample size where I shoot 6 for 9 suggests. The thing is, it all comes in time, and when you look at Victor Wembanyama, the thing that stands out maybe the most to me this season, when it comes to his shooting and maybe why the Spurs are encouraging him to shoot so many three-pointers, his free throw percentage is at 92% this year, and that has often, throughout NBA history, been a very solid indicator of whether a player is a good three-point shooter. Now, not always. You have some outliers, like one guy that a lot of people always used to talk about is someone like Chandler Parsons, who is really bad at shooting free throws, but really good at shooting threes. That's a bit of a throwback name, if you guys, remember him. He was great. Anyway, Victor Wembanyama shooting these threes, there's clearly a goal here. And this last game against the Jazz kind of, to me, shows the vision that the Spurs have for Victor Wembanyama. If he is able to shoot 6 for 9 from 3, now shooting 2 for 6 from inside the three-point line is less than ideal, but he did have some great clips as well, and I didn't include it here. I'm going to show the blocks again, but he had a great spin move, a little drop step on Lauri Markkanen. He did so many things right in this game, and even shooting 2 for 6 from inside the three-point line, he had an incredibly impactful game. So this, to me, is the big vision for Victor Wembanyama, and I want to hear your guys' thoughts on it down below as well, but he's not the only big thing that happened in the game. There was a lot more stuff as well, and I want to dive right into this. The Spurs' young core. Now, it's not just Victor. This is what I think a lot of teams were scared of, right? You see Victor, the Spurs were really bad. They have some solid young players, but like, okay, well, are they going to be able to build up around Victor? Keldon Johnson has not really taken that step to be that guy that can be that bona fide starter, maybe that 20-point per game scorer we had in mind a few seasons ago. But some other guys have stepped up. Devin Vassell, making his season debut, playing absolutely unbelievable. 21 minutes, 21 points. He was phenomenal. I don't have any video clips of him, but those, what did it take him? Like less than 5 minutes into his first game back to really look like he missed no time at all. All the rust was gone basically immediately. These pull-up mid-range jumpers, these tough baseline fadeaways late into the game. He was doing everything we wanted him to do and more. And if I flash the box score back up, coming off the bench, or 22 minutes, I should say, 8 for 13 from the field, 3 for 6 from 3. Yeah, he did have 5 fouls and 3 turnovers. There's going to have to be some things going on there, some adjustments. The Spurs turned the ball over a lot, and in my opinion, that is what cost them the game. And I think a lot of you would probably agree. But this isn't necessarily about the game. This is about seeing this future guard combo of Devin Vassell and Stephon Castle working in tandem with Victor Wembanyama. And mind you, this game also didn't feature Jeremy Sochan, who is still injured, and a guy who has had an incredible start to the season, a guy who looks much improved, especially on the offensive side of the ball over last year. So to see Vassell come in and have this kind of impact right away, even being off the bench, gives us so much hope for the future. In a game where Champagnie didn't even hit his first 3, he was 0 for 5 until, the last 30 seconds of the game. He can come in, a guy like Vassell, and get that secondary scoring that we have been clamoring for all season long as Spurs fans. So great sign from Vassell. But the big story of this game to me, and again, I keep saying game, but the big thing is talking about how these guys work together and what it looks like for the future, the implications for this team. Because Stephon Castle, who is the third now among all rookies in minutes played behind only Zachary Risichet, the first overall pick, and Jalen Wells, who has been getting a lot of run, to be fair, on Memphis, but Castle now up to 8.4 points per game after his 20-plus point performance. Go back to this here. 23 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals, 8 for 16 from the field. His three-point shot, while his percentages may not indicate that he is that great yet, he's still about 20%, I think. The stroke is there. And some of these clips, man, watching Stephon Castle shoot these threes, he has so much confidence. There's a mild hitch there, but look how deep that one is on the pass from Chris Paul. Now, to be fair, getting an assist from Chris Paul bumps all your attributes up by plus 10. But these finishes in traffic over a guy like Walker Kessler and attacking a guy like Kessler, one of the better rim protectors in the entire league, multiple times, and being able to finish inside. That change of pace from Stephon Castle, the way he controls his own game, the way he can manipulate the defenses just by changing his acceleration, changing his pace a bit, kind of being very methodical, slow and methodical with his moves, while still having that explosive first step, has been something that's almost been a bit of a surprise. We all knew he could do it, but at the NBA level, against the highest level competition, against some of the best rim protectors in the league, he is still thriving doing it while showing that future potential for his three-point shot is really there. And that is what the NBA was scared Castle would do, because we all thought he would be a solid defender, and we are seeing that as well. I'm seeing a lot of those Jimmy Butler comparisons. We'll see. There's still a lot of time left here. But Castle, since he first stepped foot on the court this past summer in a Spurs uniform, we were like, man, this guy looks mature. He looks really in control of his own game. And he was getting praises sung by Pop and all kinds of different people saying, yeah, he just knows. He's mature on the court. He works hard. He wants to get better. And we are seeing that this season. The improvements that he has made from even just last season in college to right now. That three-point stroke looks really nice. Again, not shooting a great percentage, but I think there's a good long-term outlook there if he can continue to work on it, because it doesn't look broken at all. His defense has been phenomenal so far for the Spurs, but it's that scoring touch that, we were wondering, how will that translate to the NBA level? It is translating amazingly so far. Finishing in traffic, shooting. Now, if he can develop a pull-up mid or something that can be effective, maybe learn from Vassell, learn from one of the best of all time in Chris Paul, that could be even more deadly. But the combo of a guy like Castle with a guy like Devin Vassell, who can go score you 20 plus on any given night, who honestly, Vassell is starting to look more and more like a scoring two-guard superstar. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but this game filled me with a lot of confidence, especially with the gravity that Wemby creates, especially having another guy who could potentially be a higher level scoring option in Castle if he keeps developing that game. Even Sochan continuing to develop, and whoever that point guard is of the future. Maybe it will just be Castle and Vassell there in the backcourt, but right now you got Chris Paul. Honestly, there's just so much amazing stuff going on right now, and I think NBA fans are scared. Yeah, the Spurs are losing, but they're kind of still supposed to lose a lot of games. They're better than they were at this point last year. That's, I guess not a hard bar to cross, but Wemby having these slow games to start the season, but still showing those flashes of three-point dominance while being at his height and still being able to score on some big guys, being incredibly impactful on the defensive end, probably going to win Defensive Player of the Year. You combine that with Vassell, with Sochan, who's stepping up, who hopefully will be back soon from injury, with Castle, who is looking better than expected, and teams are scared because this Spurs team looks genuinely to me like a team that will be an absolute force in the years to come. And I want to hear all your guys' thoughts down below on all this stuff, especially Stephon Castle and Devin Vassell, because, we all know and love Wemby, but this duo to me has some incredible long-term outlook. But that'll do it for this episode of Spurs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Like I asked you before, it's completely free, and you get our daily Spurs content. I've been your host, Josh Gosse, and I'll catch you in the next one.